Hey, what's going on, y'all? My name is Tyler Jacob. You guys are sitting here with TrueExclusive.com. I grew up in the hood. Obviously, everybody knows Camden, New Jersey was not the best city, one of the most dangerous cities in America. I don't know if it's still number one, but when I was growing up, it was number one dangerous city in America. And I didn't really know it was that. You know what I mean? I didn't know that it was the hood. I grew up there, so I had no idea that I was even in something that everyone considered to be like the worst place. I would wake up sometimes, go outside, and it felt like a jungle sometimes because you always had in your mind, dang, am I gonna fight somebody today, or is somebody gonna say something to me today? That's definitely like the reality in Camden, but it never made me scared. I never feared it to a point where it stopped me from growing. So like, I think it made me who I am, and I honestly wouldn't change it for the world. I wanted to sing at the age of since the age of 5, and the reason why is because um, they put me to be Simba in The Lion King on one of my elementary school musicals. And like I never have done a musical in my life, never did any singing or nothing like that. And I took that part really serious. Like when I went home, my mom was like, you don't have to go in that hard, you know what I mean? But when she saw me perform as a little kid, she knew at that moment that well, that's what she told me. She said there was something in you that I knew you were going to be a performer. But with that being said, she wanted to stop it. Like she didn't want me to be a singer because she knew what came with the industry, and like she wanted she also had in her mind, I believe, from the things we've talked about, like me being the person to break the cycle for the family. So I had all that pressure on my back, you know what I mean? And even as a little kid, she's like, you can't be a singer, you have to be a doctor. And so that was the first time I wanted to sing. First time I realized that I could do it as a career was in ninth grade. And that's when I was placed in a choir class by accident, and I met this lady named Benita Farmer, and she transferred me to Creative and Performing Arts High School because she was like, you can't be in this school like and not hone in your talent. And again, I didn't really think about it like that. It was nothing really that serious. 'Cause my mom would always wanted me to be a doctor, and then once I got to Creative and Performing Arts High School, it was a whole nother game for me because like every single day was dedicated to just singing, 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 that I couldn't see myself doing anything else. And so it brought that passion from when I was 5 years old back into my life as an adult. And I'm like, well, that's where I found my happiness. I knew at some point that I was going to be something and somewhere, hopefully, you know what I mean? 'Cause that's what I was going to work towards. And that's what brought me here today. I decided I wanted to move to LA when I had enough with the music industry at that time. You know what I mean? I felt like I was getting a lot of no's because of my sexuality. And a lot of people weren't believing in the vision because of my sexuality. They were like, right now this is not the place where the masses will understand that and blah, blah, blah. And I was in a place where I wanted to be free, and I knew that being here in New York during that time and trying to pursue a music career wasn't going to be the best outcome for me. So I made the sacrifice of going to LA in hopes that because they were a little more open box as far as like the way that they think and process, um, that it would be an easier situation for me. But it was kind of like one of the hardest moves that I made, and it was an eye opener because I realized that your home lives here. It doesn't live anywhere, and so your success doesn't. It's not because of where you are. It's because of the things that you do and the amount of effort that you put into your craft, and that's what gives you your whatever it is that you want out of your life is what you put into it. So once I realized that, then LA became a breeze. The first time I realized I was gay was when I was, I want to say, 7 years old. To be honest, the first time I realized because my uncle had left his computer up, and I was seeing what he had searched through, and I had ended up finding something crazy. And then I remember that being the first time that I saw something like that. And then after that, I met the guy at AHAC, and when I met him, he challenged my sexuality. And then after he challenged my sexuality, then I started to want to know more. You know what I mean? I wanted to know more about the gay experience, wanted to know more about the gay lifestyle, blah, blah, blah. And so then that pushed me into going out to the gay clubs, going out to have more gay friends, and then even pushed me into the ball scene back when I was younger because again, didn't know anything about it. So going into the ball scene then it presented me into the arts, everything arts, singing, fashion, but on an extreme level. You know what I mean? So it was like, wow, these people are so fly. Like they have like all of these cool accessories, and they don't really care about where they're going. They don't care what people are telling them, and they were super confident. So that was my first experience, being scared at first, and then gaining confidence by by getting to know other people who also struggled with the situation. I mean, and this topic, even to this day, is one of the hardest topics for me to talk about because there's still such stigma on it. You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of people, even if you say the wrong thing, and they get offended by people who may not know. You know what I mean? And I'm one of those people who, because I've been on both sides of the spectrum, like I went through it entirely, what people would consider a straight lifestyle or what people would consider a gay lifestyle, and then I also ventured into the, going back to girls sometimes and then going back to guys. But one thing that I realized about the whole gay straight thing is that in my life that doesn't exist, and I think that's kind of where the world is going now, because I know in LA for sure, the more and more that I go out and I experience different cultures, a lot of people are opening up and they're accepting what is real in their minds. You know what I mean? Because a lot of people think stuff, but they won't act on it because they know that if they act on it, then they have whatever it is in their mind that is going to be the consequence, then they don't do it. But I'm here to say, honestly, open up. This is 2019, going into 2020, and I feel like the LGBT community has some of the most creative, most innovative people. And if you look at all of the top people in the game, if you break down their team and who their team is a part of, it's a lot of people of the LGBT community a part of those teams. And that just shows and proves that we're all people. We are all people who have strong mindsets and who have things to offer this world, and shouldn't be like held into a box because of something that we want to do, sexually, or if a relationship that we want to have with someone else. I just never knew that my mom had the ability to say, like, I don't want to talk to you no more. You know what I mean? Like, that never even came to my mind. I never questioned that she would ever leave my side, nothing like that. So when it happened, it threw me off. It threw me off my track major, because I told her thinking that real nonchalantly. I was just like, she kept asking why I was arguing with my friend so much, and I was like, Mom, it's because he was my boyfriend. And I had to understand her at that time, because people process different, but I didn't understand how she could do it for so long, Like, I had to personally get into a car and drive down to go and mend that relationship. And sometimes, not that I don't think about the past or the future anymore, but when I sit down and I allow myself to go to those places, I still question sometimes if I had not gone down there that day, and you know what I mean, would it have been longer? You know what I mean? It's one of those situations that I had to allow myself to just let go, so that I can get back into the place that I knew that me and my mom deserve to be, because she's been such a great representation of a strong woman in my life. And yeah, I mean, I forgive her because she's done so many more good things than that one thing, but it's definitely one of the biggest heartbreaks in my life. When I first met Michael hit me up on Instagram, and this is us after having some discussion or whatever via Instagram as well. But he hit me up because he saw me at a pool, and he was like, no invite? And I was like, oh, you can come over. And he was like, okay, cool. So I remember going to pick him up, because I said, I can pick you up and bring you back. I picked him up, he got in the car, and the first thing he said was, I know I got a big head. The first thing that I've ever heard him say ever out of his mouth was, I know I got a big head. Because Michael's head was a little big. But I remember laughing, and I've never been, and this is like the pure honesty, I've never been in a relationship where I've admired somebody that much. Like, he liked me just as much as I liked him, and to me that doesn't happen. That's not real. But it was so real in our situation. You know what I mean? It was like every single day I felt like I was dreaming until years pass, and then you're like, become regular relationship like everyone else. You get into arguments and you do all this craziness. But those first moments were like the most magical moments of my entire life. Like, I love thinking back to when I met him, because I was in a good place financially, but he wasn't at that time. And I remember that being what brought us so close, for him being able to communicate that to me. You know what I mean? And like, we put each other on top. Like, that was it. Like, who we were in our lives. If anything happened, if Michael did something, I did it. If I did something, he did it. And I don't know, he just definitely the best moment of my life, meeting him. I think like every other relationship, I mean, I think by the end of that relationship, it definitely got very sticky. And I say that because Michael was suffering through a lot of mental things that I personally couldn't understand. And I know that his family personally couldn't understand. And of course, I know that everybody in that box played a part in how he felt. But at the same time, I've had to put myself in a place of not trying to understand anymore. Now I'm at a place of enjoying the now and enjoying his memory when I do think back on that, and enjoying all of the great moments, because him and I, those last few months were very tough for both of us. I know for me, in my personal experience, I didn't understand that every thought that I feed can become bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, and that becomes your reality. And sometimes when that thought becomes bigger than you, then it's so hard to get out of. And that's where I was when when Mike first transitioned. I put myself in a place mentally that was keeping me stuck, and there was no movement going on. It was a lot of up here thinking of the sadness and the sad parts of death, but not realizing the beauty of death. You know what I mean? And the beauty that comes with the fact that he wanted peace and that he got it. You know what I mean? I had to really tune into not my selfish ways, but understanding that there's a bigger picture beyond anything that I can understand, and that he's happy at the end of the day. And even though to this day it's still the grandest heartbreak I know that I will ever go through, because I won't allow any other heartbreak like that in my life again, that understand that it's never the end. There's nothing to give up for. There's so much out there that you want, that there's to achieve. If you have a dream that you want to get to, understand that it's literally within hand's reach. It's putting it into taking your thought, putting it into reality, and telling yourself that you're going to get it, and believing that. Because a lot of the times we say we're going to do stuff, but we don't believe it. And the only way it's going to happen is if you, cliche as it may be, it's like you have to believe it. If you don't believe it, then nobody else will. And so I know for me, putting that into practice is what has gotten me so many great opportunities, and what has opened the door for so many great moments to be able to help somebody else. Because I know for me, I heard a lot of people talk about stuff, but I never hear it the way that I hear it now after experiencing something like that. Now it's like, no, there really is so much to go for. When I look at somebody like Michael, who was so talented and had so many people rooting for him, he had so many things happening at the same time. He was on a television show, and he was doing great styling with great people, and doing what he loved to do ultimately, because that's what his dream was. And I watched him I watched those last few months of him feeding the negativity instead of like appreciating that moment that he was living his dream. And I see what that does to people. So if there's anything that I could say to people, is to be in the now. Think about this moment and be grateful for all of the things that there are to be grateful for, like waking up and breathing and talking and being able to physically touch things. And for those people who can't do that, there's still so many things to be thankful for. The fact that you can see, and for those people who can't see, there's still so many things to be grateful for. The fact that you can think, you know what I mean? It's an endless pool of things to be grateful for us to even for 1 second fall into anything negative. Honestly, I have to say the way that I got out of my depression from that death was my friends and family. Like keeping a solid like foundation of friends who genuinely care about you. Because there was a lot of self-pity going on for me that I had to like step out of myself and really like tell myself, hey, it's enough. Not that it's enough of mourning, enough like, hey, wake up. You know, telling myself to wake up, because sometimes you got to step out of yourself to wake yourself up. And I got out of the depression by leaning on my friends and being able to do that and asking them for help. Because when it initially happened, it like completely screwed me up, like in every shape, way possible, financially, mentally, physically, everything. I went probably down to the smallest I've ever been. Like I went down to 135 pounds, and I was probably doing the most drugs that I've ever done in my life, trying to numb the pain. And it sucks that I even tell that story, because it's like, it's the same story you hear so many times. You know what I mean? It's the same story you hear so many times, and it's got to stop somewhere. You know what I mean? It's got to stop somewhere. So if I can be that voice of reason, and get somebody to understand that the only way out is you, then I would love to be that person, because you is the only way that you're gonna save yourself, and having the tools to do so. The tools are your friends, your family, staying positive, reading books that keep you in a great space, or if there is something negative in your life, having the strength to remove it. Because a lot of times we deal with people and things that we know are not beneficial for us, or harm us, or make us feel bad, and yet we continue to put ourselves through that torture, we continue to put ourselves through that relationship, and not really valuing who you are and what you bring into the world, and what you should be ultimately caring about the most, which is yourself. I feel like I've gained a sixth sense, and I say that because like I see everything through a different set of eyes. I can appreciate this space, this here, like this empty space. I look at it so I feel like there's just a whole bunch of energy everywhere, and like I look at light different. I look at plants, and I look at earth, and everything is just I don't know. I've gained a new feeling and a new understanding for life that I know I would not have been able to understand had I not gone through something like that, because it pushed me to want to get to know myself better, so that I didn't put myself in a place of wanting to die. Because I tried to commit suicide 3 times after that, and until that last time that I woke up from the hospital, that was my aha moment of waking up and say, why would I want to give up everything that I ever worked hard to do, or hurt somebody like my family who don't deserve anything like that, but ultimately hurt myself, who I reign this kingdom, you know what I mean? And for me to just completely shut that kingdom down off of something that's totally temporary, it's like, I personally, like I said in the beginning of this, I just don't understand that. And even though I put myself in those places multiple times, even while I was in those places, I could not understand why I would get to that low. And it's a very serious situation. And not that I don't understand, because I know that drugs played a major part in fucking with the serotonin levels. Sorry for cursing. So I know that even in Michael's situation, the same thing happened, but there's still demons and things out there that we allow and we feed that are so heavy on us that we honestly need to make the effort to build on ourselves and to be better for ourselves. But he lives in me through everything that I do. Through my art, I feel like I have a new sense of fashion. I feel like I have a new sense of thinking. And I feel like I hear him in my ear all the time telling me, I don't like that, I don't like that, no, I don't want that, no, that's bomb. You know what I mean? Like I hear him. So that's why I say he lives in me, because he's so present in my mind. It's been a year, and he's still as if he never left. Like Michael Mann is so much a part of me. You know what I mean? In my world. Even when I talk to people on a daily, I think Michael comes up probably there's not a day that goes by since that entire year that Michael hasn't come up at least once in a day. So that just shows how much he lives on and will continue to live on. There's so many things happening for me, and I'm so grateful, thank God. I have my album coming out, which is scheduled to come out in November, and I know I give you guys a lot of dates, and the reason why I do that is because I believe in myself so much, and sometimes other people get into the way, and so then I just communicate what right now is. So November is tentative to change, but my album is scheduled to release in November. I have a single that's coming out called Unbothered with a homie of mine. His name is Rick Starr, and that's coming out actually this month in October. I mean next month in October, and I'm performing at the House of Blues September 28th, performing at the Resident in downtown LA October 22nd. I want to say the album is genreless because I have songs that are like alternative, I have songs that are like pop, I have songs that are like hip hop, rap, but it all makes sense. And the reason why it's like that is because, oddly enough, I started recording this album 5 years ago, and it's been an ongoing process of just recording song after song after song after song, and me not being confident enough to release music, and me not being in a place where I felt like I could give the song what it deserved as far as like promotion and stuff like that. So I always stopped. But I today now realize why the universe had allowed that to be my reality was because this work needed to be put together as a story. So it captures the times where I'm super happy. It captures the times where I went through struggles. It captured the time when I went through my relationship with Michael. It went through times where I captured the ending of that relationship or even the middle of that relationship. So it tells a full story of like where I've been and where I'm going. So look out for a whole bunch of fashion, a whole bunch of music, a whole bunch of like fun, and also a whole bunch of me just communicating how I feel, because I want to be a little more vocal on just expressing myself to the world, because I feel like whether I want to acknowledge it or not, they've played a big role in my healing process. You know, my supporters and the people who constantly show me love, because I feel like without them, I wouldn't have been able to see light in the dark. You know what I mean? Without them, I wouldn't have been able to see that there was more to go for. And then hearing everyone's story that they send me, a lot of people share their personal experiences and how that situation affected them, and how they at one point wanted to commit suicide, and that they see me continuing on, so it helps them continue on. And that pushes me too. That makes me feel like I have some, like a sense of like, what is that word? A sense of like, a responsibility is what I wanted to say. I have a responsibility to some people who support me and who follow me to continue on for them too, because they see somebody continuing on after something so crazy, which even for me, sometimes I tell myself, dude, you're strong, and you got to tell yourself that sometimes, and it's not easy, and even to somebody out there who's struggling with the same thing, because I'm not the only one who had someone die and they was their fiance, like you know that it's not easy, but acknowledging that it's not easy and continuing on makes it easier, you know? So I don't know.